Eddie, we're live. That's right. I say we're live a lot at these things.
Yeah.
Maybe I need a new opener. Let's make up a new opener right now. Amy, you go.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry. I can't think on the fly. I didn't
Yeah.
have enough coffee today. I'm sorry. And now
Yeah.
I've already switched to tea, but it's not tea. It's not tea.
There might not be tea in this cup.
Right.
Cheers.
I had to grab my this is a antique teacup from my great grandma, and I thought this would be perfect for
That's
today because
probably
I'm
what she had in there too.
it's probably what she had.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
feel that.
Well, this does have tea in it. Of
Does it?
peppermint variety. Yeah, it tastes real good
Oh.
with the other things in here.
I didn't even make tea today.
No.
No.
I was
No.
like, I gotta make tea. And then I hit the boily thing and I poured it in my teapot and it was like that much water left. I'm like, who didn't refill this? Oh wait, I live with me. It's my fault.
Nicole, get on it.
Jeez. Well, so yesterday my show goes out and all of a sudden I start getting messages. Hey, this is episode whatever before. And it was actually 3 episodes back. I got interrupted in the middle of post-production and just like inadvertently renamed the file, uploaded totally the wrong audio.
Yeah.
Sent it off to get, posted. And I'm like, did I make a mistake? Or then I'm like, yeah, sure as shit. That's not the right audio.
Me. That was
Luckily,
all
I
me.
have the right. So then I replaced it, but Spotify doesn't refresh.
Right.
So everybody on Spotify has the wrong stuff, but
sorry.
And so I've gotten a lot of emails and stuff. Sorry, guys. Episode 561 is available on my website or on any podcaster, but you're going to have to like delete what downloaded to your phone.
Yes.
And re-upload. It was actually only the first 700 downloads that happened to, and Spotify. Gosh. So, last time I did that, I was like episode 543.2. I released it again.
That works too.
Yeah.
It feels like it's a secret episode then maybe.
It's the secret episode that isn't the one that had the Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure that all of that's because the spring workshop is next week. And I'm just like, ah!
Your brain is just like,
exactly.
Yeah. I'm excited though. I'm excited to finally meet you.
In person.
How crazy will that be?
Are you going to sing karaoke?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All night long. It'll be great. Everybody thought that they would have to give me whiskey to do that. I'm like, oh, you don't understand my life. No.
Weren't you in theater in high school?
Yes. And music and all that. I'm like
about singing in front of people.
I will sing all day long. It'll be so fun. I'm excited. It will be very good.
Yeah. So, what are we talking about today, Amy?
What do you want to talk about?
How about read the damn article before you comment?
We could start with that. Have you ever posted something? Something you've written, something you've shared, whatever. You post it online and you have people commenting about what they think that article says or an opinion about that article. And it is clear they have not read the article. They have only read the title or just, like the little like snippet that will show up, underneath it. They haven't actually read the article. They haven't listened to the podcast. I did a podcast last month sometime about judgment. And it was talking about how basically I had been invited to a very fancy wedding and I was really stressed out because I didn't have anything to wear. And it was a last minute thing because there was miscommunication between my husband and I, whether or not we were going. And I got stressed out and I started to do that thing where you're like, oh, why does it have to be so fancy? And having a fancy wedding doesn't make you more married, and I just go down that whole thing, I get all bitchy in my head. And finally I realized, like, why do I care what their wedding is? If that's what they want to do for their wedding, like, great. Like, that has nothing to do with me. If that's what they want to do, that's awesome. Go enjoy yourself. And so we did, and it was great. But through all of that, I had this whole like podcast episode going in my head. Like, I got to talk about this, how we talk about how we're not judgmental people. And we really are, there's things that just make us crazy and that we point out, I was just thinking, cause I have my nails done cause I was at a thing and I had someone say, wow, you got some real nice nails for a farm girl. Cause they saw them in a picture and I'm like, so farm girls can't paint their nails though. I'm like, I don't know. So anyway, so this whole judgment thing. And so I had posted this article and there was a bunch of people who were basically having a whole conversation about judgment that if they would have read the article or listened to the podcast, they would have known that's not at all what I was talking about. They had their whole thing going on. They had a whole side. I don't know. I'm like, maybe read the article, maybe listen to the podcast. But we do that when we see things like news articles posted online.
Yeah.
We will just assume this is what it's about, or, because sometimes they will pull weird things out of an article to make kind of a clickbaity title. And then instead of clicking to see what the clickbait thing is, it's not even true. It says it really doesn't have anything to do with the article. And we have a whole thing going on, a whole discussion going on. And I don't know, it makes me crazy. I guess that's what happens when you're online. It's the downfall of social media, I suppose. Everything's fast and easy to comment on. So
and the minute somebody comments, it's like they set the tone.
Oh yeah.
So then you have the irony is it's about judgment, and they're having some sort of discussion about judgment.
You're right. Yeah.
In the but we'll put that aside for a second. It's always funny when that happens, or when you find yourself in a conversation with somebody where you're like, I don't know why we're talking about this, and then you realize it's because they literally just read the headline, assumed whatever was in there, and Donald Trump is Orange Man bad, and boom, here we are.
Here we are, just like that.
Yeah,
it would make my job so much easier if we didn't have to write anything. Let's just write titles and images and post them, and then people can make up their own what it's about.
Yeah, just write your own title. It's fine. Aaron says Color Street nail polish, so at least so it lasts longer the day after cleaning out the coop.
How much special stuff do you have in your tea, Nicole?
Just a little bit, because I'm doing a lot of setup. So about 1.5 ounces.
Yeah.
How about you?
There's enough. There's nothing mixed with it. So.
Oh yeah, you're just going straight on, full bore ahead. Well, good, because you got to warm up for next week.
Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah. The funny thing is that it's actually, I think in a couple of days, it's supposed to get to 70 here, which doesn't make sense. Because it's been in the 30s and 40s, and we're going to all of a sudden go up to 70. There's going to be thunderstorms, and then it's going to go back down to the 30s.
Yeah.
In time for me to leave for you.
Will your trees wake up for that, or they're just like, yeah, we know this isn't real?
The trees?
Yeah.
Some of the trees have already woke up.
Okay.
Because we had some, so I don't know. I think it's going to be okay. I mean, they're probably used to this. They're like, oh, it's fake spring. We'll wake up a little bit, not all the way, but I don't know.
I mean, ours aren't really all the way up either.
Yeah.
And usually when you get here, it's just all the green.
Yeah.
And maybe by next week it will be, but there's a lot of no leaves on the trees going on this time. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'll feel just right at home then.
Yeah. I mean, probably more than there, I would guess, but.
Oh yeah. Yeah, probably. Yeah. There's no leaves. Nothing here.
Okay. So let's talk about people who want to raise cows, sheep, goats, chickens, rabbits, and kittens.
Everything. Yeah.
Ducks, geese,
emus, donkeys.
Yeah. Horses.
Everything. Yep.
All of it. And they've never, ever raised a freaking animal in their life.
Does this happen, Nicole?
People talk about it. It does. I mean, it's the dream, right? And there's nothing wrong with the dream.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a homestead, and I've read Joel Salatin's books, and I'm going to do rotational grazing, and the pig is 500 pounds. It's big pig. Big. Unless you have Mike Vertrese's pigs, and his pigs are smaller because he has a different breed. I just see that he's on today. And I'm going to rotationally graze, and I've never built fencing. What do you think about that?
It's so easy. Anyone can do it. Right?
Oh, if you've read the book, obviously know that.
If you've read the book. It's funny that you bring that up, because I was in a chat this morning where someone was talking about they had heard of somebody who right now, it's some group, I don't know what group it was, but they were talking about how they wanted goats. And so they were going to get goats, but they're going from 0 goats to 25 goats. I know. That's exactly the face. I was like, I remember starting with 2 goats and thinking, what in the world am I doing here?
Why did I do this to myself with the goats?
Can you imagine going from, and I don't think they have anything else, because I read the original post and I thought, what in the world? Oh my word.
They're going to have goats everywhere.
They're going to learn a lot of stuff real fast.
I have an episode, 5 lessons goats taught me about fencing, that I did like 5 years ago. They need to listen to that.
if I find
The
out
other
who these
thing they
people
think
are.
is, I'm going to train them to 2 strands of electric wiring.
How'd that work?
I don't know. They like ran straight through it because I didn't use Nick Ferguson's advice of having Fort Knox cattle panels with the wire in front of it and let them learn to pull back.
Yeah.
And then even then, if you don't refresh or if they're not getting enough forage in that spot, you may have problems because goats give zero cares about getting shocked if they're hungry. Pigs are the same way.
They are special. They're very special animals. So to go from 0 to 20. That's
no goes to 20 is a little crazy.
It's
like
a little crazy.
2 goats, a boy and a girl. What will happen is you will have more goats.
You will,
depending on
it'll take a while to get to 20 though. But wow.
No, I have a friend with 26 goats and they get out.
Yeah.
And she did not start with 26 goats.
Yeah.
And she raised pigs and she raises cattle and she has goats and she has chickens. But she didn't do that all in 1 year.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I get it because you get to the homestead, you finally get to the homestead where you want to be and you want to get all the things, you're so excited. You want to fill up the farm and get all the things, but wow, that's some excitement waiting to happen there.
You know what's fomenting this though, right?
What?
The food shortage news media articles might have something to do with all the animals.
You know what? You're not wrong.
Yeah.
That's probably why all the emails increase. Have you been getting emails about food shortage and what should I do?
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of listening to your last podcast episode. So
the one that went out wrong that I had to re-upload?
Yes.
Yeah, that one.
Yep, I'm in the middle of it.
Well, that's why I did the How to Develop a Deep Pantry one 2 weeks ago and the inflationary period of the 70s one last week. Next week, I'm going to go back to, because it's all replays next week because of the spring workshop. I'm going to go back to how to quickly develop your deep pantry that I did in 2020 when the shutdowns happened and you could only buy flour but no yeast.
Right.
Which is not actually a problem, but people thought it was a problem.
Right.
But it takes a little more time to catch wild yeast to make the bread if you're going to have the bread.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
so
crazy.
We're going to do some of those because I figured it out because I'm like, you've been listening to me for how long and you don't have any food stored? Like, what? And I was like, no, actually, a lot of people are just listening to me newly and they're just like waking up. And then we're in this situation where it's spring planting season, but they're saying there are going to be shortages in the fall. But it's spring planting season.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful solution right in front of you, even if you've never done it before. That if you do it, not all of it will be successful, but some of it will be successful and you build the skill.
Yes.
This is true. The interesting part to me is like they're saying it now. Almost as if they want everybody to plant gardens because we might actually need them. That's my conspiracy hat here.
That's are you putting on the hat? Do it. There you go.
Yeah.
You got it.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And I have to remember that the people that listen to me are not the people who have always listened to me. Like you said, you're getting new listeners all the time. And so sometimes you will get those questions that are like, whoa, what am I going to do? I'm so, and so I have to remember you haven't listened to you're new to this community, and so you have to gently take their hand. Yeah. Sometimes not so gently.
Right. And that's the thing. Like the instinct to want to raise all the animals out on a homestead and have control that instinct is not bad. And I don't want to discourage it.
Right.
What I want to encourage is 1 thing or 2 things per year on a homestead. And if I was going to do 2 things new to homesteading, if I moved homesteads without all my animals and I had no infrastructure in place, I would get ducks because I like raising ducks unless it was not suitable for ducks, in which case I'd get chickens or rabbits and I would do the garden and that would be it.
Yeah.
And the only reason I say or rabbits is I'm not that great with rabbits yet. Like rabbits are what I added last year and we're still working out the reproduction cycle on the rabbits. And I'm really good with chickens and ducks. So, and that would be it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't bring cattle in. I wouldn't bring horses in. I wouldn't bring lambs in. None of it. I don't know how. I'm adding lamb this year. It's my first time with lamb. So sheepies are coming. But even now, 15 years into this adventure,
Yeah.
I don't add more than 1 or 2 things a year.
Yeah. Well, and that's a lot to do, like taking on a new animal or taking on, we're going to have this garden or expand this garden or put in another garden. It's more work, you're doubling the work or tripling the work, and I don't think people think about that. But I think part of the problem is when we have the people that are talking about food shortages, you can get into those communities where people can really get you stressed out about you don't have enough. You have to get the rabbits this year. You have to get the chickens, and you have to put in the apple trees, and you have to, and so I think there is kind of that kind of fear porn out there, even in the homesteading community. Like you have to get all the things, and that's not helping anything.
No, and I'm a voice of reason, and you're a voice of reason in that, right?
Yeah.
But even I'm going to make a confession here on Spicy Sisters because we've loosened up the tongues.
There you go.
For a minute.
There you go. Was that a drink?
That's a drink. Those people stress me out too sometimes because they'll bring up things I don't know about.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if it's true or not, because anytime somebody tells me, this catastrophic outcome that sounds conspiratorial, when I hear that, my internal reaction, and I'm trying to not let my face show that I'm thinking at that point,
right?
Because I don't want to be rude, is I don't know if this is true, but if it's not out of the realm of reason, I am already starting to think, how can I corroborate that or verify that or find some sources to look into that to see what's really going on? Because a lot of times the conspiracies might just be what they say, right?
Right.
Or they might be made up.
Yep.
Or it's another way to get the A-B thing going on where we're always fighting.
Yep.
Or there's something going on that's been spun. Yeah. And I want to find the something, like the canning jar lid shortages of 2020 was not New World Order stuff. It was New World Orders. Too many orders in at one time. They were 4 times what the factory was expecting that year. They weren't tooled up for it.
Right.
And so that's what I always start thinking about there. But at the same time, I'm like, holy crap, what if it's true? Because there's also a lot of crap going on right now where you're like, yeah, there's a lot of bad stuff out there right now.
Right. And I think some people just take advantage of that then, and turn it into something you have to worry about, and it's not something you have to worry about. So you got to dig into it, and you don't always have the time to dig into it. That's the problem. Like there's so many stories coming at you, and hard to know what to do.
And when they say all these things are going to happen, like, all the stories are coming at you, and then you have to evaluate, is that going to affect me immediately? Or can I do anything to change it if it does happen? Like, nuclear war, can't change it if it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really want to die right now, and I don't really want to die in that way. But at the end of the day, if it happens, it happens.
Right.
And then everything I do doesn't matter anymore. But the amount of time I invest in worrying about that right now is not as much as when I hear food shortages, I don't like being hungry, which is why I have a deep pantry.
Right.
And I've started digging into more of the supply chain issues that are going on to see like what's under the hood here. Because it's not that Ukraine and Russia are fighting. That's what they're blaming it on. That's not really what's going on.
Right.
So, and I don't 100% know what's going on. I'm starting to see, okay, they're not wrong. There probably are shortages coming. A lot of it has to do with shipping and then crop failures that have happened a while ago.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like because last year where I live, we were in a severe drought for the entire summer. So it was shitty crops here. So we're still dealing with that. It has nothing to do with Ukraine. We're still dealing with this stuff that happened last year. So, but people don't think about that.
Yeah, Ukraine is not going to make it easier, right? That can have negative impacts. And I was sort of looking at that. And if we actually go to war with Russia, like legit war with Russia, that's going to be problematic because then we're sending our people over there, right?
Yeah.
And they're not here producing. And then we also need to support the people over there and here. And that takes more.
Yeah.
So, and in a time when we have droughts and our real problem is an over-reliance on a centralized system of food.
Yes. And there you have it. Yeah. So many comments. We have a lot of chatty people here.
I know. Well, I've
I
just
love
been
it.
sort of highlighting them on the video for fun, but we've got this one. I grew up in a city girl. When I first got animals, I ended up with 42 chickens. I did that with tomatoes only. It was 142 or something. Got a little overzealous. Thank God I married a country boy. Yep.
It's funny how you think you need so many and you really don't.
You know,
I mean, because when we came here, we had all the chickens and then they were free ranging and we had like feral chickens running all over. And I don't even know how many we had there for a while because they were just having babies and coming back and there's 13 more. Oh, there's 20 more. But like you realize, wait a second, how many eggs do I need? Because really, do you want to pay to feed the birds that you don't need?
No.
No. So after a while, you figure out, wait a second, it's really cool to have that super big homestead where you have all the things, but what do you need? What do you actually need?
Yeah, and can you sell your surplus?
Exactly.
Because if you can't, then maybe you don't need surplus.
Right. Yeah. That was something I learned early on because when you move to farm country and then you say, "Oh, I have eggs," people are like, "Yeah, so do I." They don't want your extra. They're like, "I don't need your extra eggs. I got my own extra eggs, and I'm not going to drive to the city to sell them. I don't want to do the farmers market, circuit and all of that." So, yeah, I don't need as many eggs as I was getting. So,
depending on how many eggs I have after the spring workshop next week, I might put the sign outside on the road that says duck eggs for sale, but we're waiting.
Yeah.
Because I freeze dry them too. Ashley says, pick one new major skill and build from there. Look for local sources of what you don't start with. First timer burnout is a real thing. Yeah. That's the other thing. When you choose one thing like goats or chickens or rabbits, the reason I say one a year like that is it's really, really hard. Even though it's easy and there's lots of advice you can get on how to make it easy. And if you ask me how much time it takes to raise chickens, I'm like, hardly any.
Yeah.
The first year, it took a boat ton of time until I figured out my rhythm.
Yep.
And then it takes almost no time.
Right.
Because you get this efficiency of understanding, and you're like constantly worried you're going to kill the things.
Yes. Right.
And that's true every time I add a different kind of livestock. Like the first year of the pig, which was last year, was the year of the pig.
Yeah.
It was like, it took a little while to get it into a rhythm, and we'd raised smaller pigs here. Yeah. And then we had the first pigs born on the property, and then that was a whole nother scale.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So when you add a whole bunch of things at once, you don't have that year to focus on what is my chicken system, because you're also worrying, what's my goat system? What's my pig system? What's my, so you need the time to figure out the system to be able to do it well, to then move on and add another thing. So,
yeah. Hey, Michael's out there fomenting fear. He told me to grab my hat.
I don't have a hat today.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, yeah, what's up with that? You brushed your hair?
I braided it this morning, and it's kind of coming out. Too. And I love how when I'm on StreamYard, I can see my roots. Or my roots, as some people say. I say roots because I'm from Minnesota, so that's what I say.
Yep.
It's fine.
Rodney says surplus can be a blessing to a family in need. Yeah, it can.
For sure.
I have to say, like, the freeze dryer has been my final chink in the armor here, where the things that don't get canned or otherwise handled are now getting freeze dried. And so I have, all of the egg surplus gets freeze dried.
Nice.
And then we have freeze dried eggs. Grumpy Acres Farm says 2021 killed us. Our customer base disappeared due to, is that COVID or something crazy? I don't know. Then we moved to a new location and we're having to build a new one from scratch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's work. And it
Find
takes
out what you're good at. I'm good with goats, but I can't change grow tomatoes to save my life. That's good to know. Yeah,
that's the absolute opposite of me.
I grew 40 tomato plants my first time doing tomato plants here, and I just exploded with tomatoes everywhere. And so the next year I put 140 in, and I had a 25% yield compared to the year before because I could not keep up with the plants.
Oh, I suppose. Yeah.
And I got like every pestilence, and it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. Like those big green things that eat everything.
Yeah. Did they take over?
Yeah, I forget what they're called right now, but you go after at nighttime. You can go after them with a black light, and they glow. You can see them.
Yeah.
My ducks will eat the crap out of those too.
Ducks are so great. I love ducks.
Ducks are very helpful.
Love them.
Yes.
What else are we talking about?
Spammers who have too much time on their hands. What the fuck?
Yeah. So, any of my listeners that are in the comments here, I can't believe they haven't brought this up yet, because now it's just a joke. But last week, I think it was, I don't know, there was and I always get inappropriate comments from people, and I get pictures of anatomy from people, and that's something that happens, right? It's part of the game of being online. But I had this person who was going through all these posts on my farm page and was saying things like, "You have such a pretty mouth," and things like that, right?
That's creepy.
Yeah, creepy. It's kind of, so here's my thing. Like, I don't get offended. I don't get shocked. Like, nothing shocks me anymore. But my thing is, how do you, like, you have too much time on your hands. Thank you, Ashley. See, I knew it was going to come out. My whole live stream last Friday morning on my channel is all about my mouth. I'm like, oh my word. But I'm like, so what I think about is, how is it that you have enough time to like do this stuff? Like, because I'm a logical, analytical person, so I was like, want to get behind, like, what are you hoping is going to happen here? Like, what's your legit thing that you think is going to happen here? Are you trying to distract me? Do you actually think I'm going to respond to you? Like, I don't understand the spammers. I don't get it.
Yeah, well, they just don't have anything better to do, right? And they're looking for a reaction from you, because they're like, it's like spammer trolls at that point.
It really is. So my guess is
they just want attention.
So there must be people who are giving them attention. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And reacting.
We're giving them attention about your mouth right now.
Well, they probably are. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I actually have really crooked teeth. That's what I wanted to respond. Like, I don't, I don't know. It's not that great. I got really crooked teeth, but then the funny thing was, when I posted about this somewhere, there were people that didn't think that I understood what this gentleman was saying. And I'm like, first of all, I wasn't born yesterday.
You are married and have kids, right?
I'm married and have kids. I'm pretty sure I know what's going on here, but I don't know.
Yeah. Could just be me.
People. I don't know. So yeah, spammers. The people that will come into, live streams and just, talk shit. Like, why are you here?
Yeah, I
do
just
something productive with your life.
We had a good one when we did a Holler Neighbor live stream.
Yeah.
Where somebody came in and we're just talking about, like, I don't know, communal cooking or something, and they made it into communal something else in the comments, and I was like, ban. Nope, not that kind of neighbors.
Nope, sorry.
This is not that exciting, channel. Thank you very much.
I don't know. Oh my gosh, yeah, people.
Yeah. And they brought in friends. So I think what happens is, if they get one reaction, then they start bringing in people and try to get more reaction. And the game is, what kind of reaction can I get?
Interesting. Yeah. I had someone who came into one of my live streams and said, "I now own your channel." Oh yeah, that must be what Liberty all day.
Devil guy in one of the live streams.
Yeah, he came in and he posted all these emojis, and he was like, "I own your channel now, and I'm being paid to be here and post these comments." And he just like took over the chat, and we were trying to ban him, and StreamYard would not ban him, so Letty actually had to go through YouTube and ban him. But I was like, "Come on now, come on, do something productive with your life, will you?"
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, they won't. That's the issue. Those are the people you don't want to date if you're single, because they're not productive. You don't want to date a non-productive person.
No.
Yeah.
Waste of time.
Okay, what about all these negative Nellies?
Negative Nellies.
Like, they come into the community and they're like, "Oh my God, we're gonna die," and or your choice about canning tomatoes, raising pigs, whatever,
right,
is the wrong one because I know better than you.
Right.
And like, for example, I get crap for pigs because apparently, biblically, according to some people, you should not eat pork.
Correct. Yes, I've heard that as well.
Well, I don't eat pork, but whatever, Nicole.
Yeah. Right.
What?
Right. Like,
how does that help build community exactly? Like, I don't eat tofu very often because I'm totally allergic to it, but you can eat all the tofu you want.
Right. Yeah, I don't understand why people feel the need to tell you they don't eat pork. Like, why do I care what you eat?
Yeah.
Why do you care what I eat? Like, if it doesn't apply to you, why are you taking the time to comment? I don't know. There's probably a psychological thing behind that. Maybe it's an attention thing.
I don't
Maybe
know.
I don't know.
It's just if your goal is to go into a community and get to know the people and build camaraderie,
Yeah.
the insertion of your preferences into every conversation is not going to help you with that, particularly if it's
Right.
negative sounding, right?
Right. Right.
If somebody puts a picture of their goats up, you might want to say something like, wow, those goats look like they're having fun, rather than I think goats are the devil.
Right.
As
Right.
you get to know the community, you can kind of skirt that line a little bit more and it makes sense. And it's because people ask me how to build community all the time. And that's the first thing is sometimes we don't care. And it's mean sounding, but we don't care what you think.
Right.
Or how it affects you personally until we get to know you and care more about you. But if we don't know who you are, then that's just like, why are you coming out of the chute that way?
Right. And sometimes when you get to know people better, you will understand. Maybe there's a backstory there. Maybe, haha,
Yeah.
it's funny, and it's totally different than
Yeah.
someone coming in and saying, "Well, I would never have pigs because we're not supposed to eat pigs," or
Yeah.
we're like, "Okay, you do you. I don't know."
It's like all the lists with rice and beans. On the one hand, I'm like, okay, if you eat that and you know how to deal with it, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm allergic to beans, so
Mm.
that list won't work for me. And people don't need to know I'm allergic to beans every time that list comes up. My real objection to that advice is, well, first of all, there's a few objections. It's like,
Okay.
do you know how to store it? Do you know how to
Yeah.
cook it? Are you
Right.
going to cook it? Are you just putting, if it's only $20 that you're putting into that, okay, whatever. And that's your insurance policy, great.
Right.
I mean, I store some rice and beans here because I may have to feed people at some
Right.
point. And they're not getting my grass-raised beef.
Right. Here, you can have this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if that's the only thing you have and there are shortages, that's the only thing you have.
Right.
And right now there are not shortages.
Right.
So you can have some other things that might be more appealing, and maybe rice and beans totally enter in, or wheat, right?
Right.
But
Right.
that is the only solution, and check, I'm done, I'm good.
I'm good.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it funny that you don't go into those lists though and tell people that you're allergic to beans. Because I feel like that's the thing to do, right?
I mean, your
Say,
list would kill me.
your list would
Why
kill
would you
me.
dare
Right.
put that list together? Because it would kill me.
Yeah.
And I mean, I
Yeah.
live next door to somebody who's allergic to everything, right? And he doesn't, I mean, he won't eat things that are obviously going to kill him. And he actually can die if he eats tree nuts, right?
Yeah.
But he doesn't come around telling me not to put dairy product into my cream of chicken soup.
Right.
He
Right.
just can't have the cream of chicken soup.
Yeah.
And when I cook eggs for him, mom's like, I'm doing a scramble. Can I put milk in it? No, you cannot put milk in it if the next door neighbor is going to eat it, because it won't go well for any of us.
Right. I think that's funny because I have a friend who does not drink, and we were out at a thing the other day, and someone at the table asked if, they could buy a round for everybody, and he said, "No, I'm good." Now, what he could have said was, "I don't drink." He could have said, "I'm sober." He could have said whatever, but he just said, "No, I'm good." And I noticed that because I'm like, he didn't have to make it a thing, like,
Yeah.
so you don't have to make it a thing.
It is okay to say no thank you to a glass of wine and just
No,
leave it
thank
at
you.
that. Not in the mood today.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I like to talk because I've been learning about boundaries. Like a real clear boundary is 2 letters, 1 word, no.
Yeah.
But you can say this other way. It's a little bit nicer. No, thank you. You
Yeah.
add thank you to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see, and maybe it depends on who you're saying it to, because if someone said that to me, I'd be like, okay, other people want to know, and maybe that's another weird thing about, well, like, why? Why don't you want that? Why don't you? So that's probably just a people thing, but
Yeah, we feel entitled to know why.
Mm.
And as humans, we're curious. So it's
Mm.
actually natural if I say I don't drink,
Mhm.
for me to want to know why. It's just like when Tim next door died suddenly, I want to know how.
Mm.
And the first question I don't ask Tim's widow is how.
Right.
Right? Even though I
Right.
want to. And the reason I check that is they're dealing with a world of emotional turmoil right now. And if they volunteer the information to me, fine. And
Right.
I'm, but it's a natural human instinct to want to know how. I don't know if it's that we can maybe avoid it ourselves in the future. We want to learn from it, or we're just curious. I don't know what makes it do that, but I don't come out of the chute with how ever in that situation.
Yeah.
Even though, like, the question that is screaming through my head over and over and over is how. Well, why is the same way. When somebody's like, I don't want tree nuts. I'm like, why? Are you allergic? Is what I'm thinking. But I'm like, it's none of my damn business.
Right. And if they want you to know, they'll tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like when people have service animals.
Yeah.
It's funny. I met somebody a few years ago who has a service animal,
Mm-hmm.
and I did not ask why. I just whatever. And as I got to know the person, I was like, okay, so I feel like we know each other well enough. Are you willing to share that information, or is that private? And I was very careful how I approached that situation because, and then as I got to know the person, I realized that because people are curious and ask why, every time somebody asks that person why, a different answer is given. I got the real answer, but a different answer is given, and it's hilarious to watch. Yeah. So then now it's entertaining, right?
That is funny. That is funny. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Are you going to talk about being a braggart today? About your rhubarb?
Oh. So this is another online thing. It's a people thing. So, well, there's a couple things that happened. We had a huge snowstorm that happened up here not long ago. I don't know. The days all run together, but we woke up and we haven't had snow for a while, and we wake up and we've got all the snow, and I'm like, snow, right? Well, at the same time, North Dakota was getting about 3 feet of snow dumped on them, right? And we just had a few inches, and so there were some people who believed that in me saying, we're getting snow again, I was somehow discounting the fact that North Dakota was getting 3 feet of snow, or that I didn't know that North Dakota was getting 3 feet of snow, right?
Yeah.
I can talk about getting snow here when everything is already melted, and it's nothing against North Dakota. I have no control over the weather, right? I have no control. So similarly, I was talking about how the rhubarb, oh my gosh, the rhubarb had popped up here at my house. I was so excited, and that's such a big deal.
Curse you for being able to grow rhubarb. Okay.
It's such a big deal here, because oh my gosh, that must mean spring is coming. There can still be snow in the yard, but because of where my rhubarb is planted, it melts, and okay, now it's popping up, and it's so exciting. So I had posted that I had walked around the south side of the house, and oh my gosh, there is rhubarb. And I make this dorky little girl face because I'm so excited, and I post online, oh my gosh, I'm so excited the rhubarb is up. You would not believe the people that posted. Mine is still under snow. Wish we had rhubarb. Ours is still under 3 feet of snow. And it just became, like you said, when they set the tone, the first person who answers kind of sets the tones for the comments. It was all this stuff about how it's still so cold here, and it just became this ranting, thing. I'm like, I was just excited that my rhubarb was up. That's all I'm saying. It's not a contest. It's not like I don't know. I don't know. I'm not bragging that my rhubarb is up. I'm just telling you my rhubarb is up, and I'm excited. It's nothing against you. I don't know.
Here's a comment from who raised you. Who even raised you? Yeah. I never ask folks. I knew somebody who hadn't had kids after several years of marriage, though everyone in our group had kids within a year. None of my business. She later had twins. Still didn't ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. That can be hard.
Yeah.
I make up funny names for my decaf coffee.
Yeah.
And it's always like desolate, soulless, like all of these things.
Yeah.
I never use barren because the one time I use that, I'm going to send it to somebody who's been trying to get pregnant for 10 years. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That can be and I am, again, not entitled to know. Yeah. Also, I'm proud of you for having rhubarb.
Do you not have rhubarb down there?
I kill it. I execute 2 plants. rosemary and rhubarb. I haven't figured out the microclimate here that makes rhubarb want to be here.
I think it grows really well. Like, rhubarb is one of the things that grows here without even trying. I think it's just one of the Minnesota things. So, yeah, I don't know. If it grows enough before I come down, I'll pick you some. I'll bring you some.
Oh, yay. Yeah.
But I don't know if it will be.
Or you could just transplant a little bit. And I could try to get it going. I think I need a shadier spot that does not dry out. I think that has been the problem.
Mine is right on the
Oregon,
south side of the
rhubarb
house.
kind of would like go well on the side of the house to the south.
Yeah, that's
not here.
Not.
No.
I've never grown anything other than in Minnesota, so it's so funny to hear how it's just so different everywhere. You know, like there's things we can grow and things we can't, and
yeah,
I don't know.
But that was the hard part of moving to Tennessee from Oregon is things that you can't kill in Oregon, like rosemary.
Yeah,
you can kill here.
Yeah.
And it's 15 years in, I've killed at least 18 rosemary plants.
I've never been able to grow that. So
I just keep trying. I'm like, one of these days I'm going to find the spot where Eat wants to be. And Jenny has a plant that she's had for 2 years now. I'm like so jealous.
Wow. Yeah. Not anything I can grow here, but we can do rhubarb.
Yeah.
I'll have to bring you some.
Yeah. Rhubarb's great.
I love it. Love it. Love it.
I keep trying to keep this banana tree alive too.
You have a banana tree? How did I miss that?
It's not alive now. No. So bananas will overwinter here.
Really?
That's what they tell me.
Ooh.
I have a friend who overwinters his by piling 2 feet of mulch on it.
Yeah.
And it dies back, and then he mulches the crap out of it, and it comes back every year. He gave me a pup last year in August, and I just don't think it was established enough, and then I didn't mulch it, so the fall got really busy last year, and so I murdered that tree just through murdering, because I'm a murderer. I'm a plant murderer.
You just wait. You're going to get emails about that now.
I know.
Someone would say, I would never grow a banana tree where I live. Yeah. I would never do that. Yeah. I don't eat bananas. I'm allergic.
Are you?
No, I'm not.
So Rodney says we grow rhubarb on the north side of the house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that may be the issue here. Although the north side of my house is weird. So you'll see.
I'm excited.
There will be no shadow there. So I think I have to find a different building. I've heard rhubarb does better in places with colder winters. Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How cold does it get in your winter? Like, what's a low temp for you?
I'm in zone 6 and zone 7.
Okay.
So it depends on the winter. Some winters it's zone 6. Some winters it's zone 7.
Yeah.
And when I looked at the map, I'm like within 10 miles of 3 different zones.
Oh, geez.
So what happens is some winters are fairly mild. It'll get below freezing, but not below 20. Other winters will go below 0 for a day or 2.
Oh, geez.
So the plants are like, what the hell, Nicole?
Right.
Yeah.
I am right on the border of 4A and 3B. So like 30 to 40 below, depending on the year. So we're not doing banana trees here.
No banana trees. Well, you could take them in for the winter and put them out. That's how you do that. I had a friend who had a banana tree in a pot in his house, and it made bananas. Yeah, in Oregon. Wow. So it depends on how committed you are to the banana.
I don't know how committed I am to the banana.
I might do this with a coffee tree just because coffee, but yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Was that a ghost?
That was somebody opening my door quietly. Okay. Truck? The coffee truck is here? Is tactical aware? Okay. 1,300 pounds of coffee just arrived at my house.
This is exciting.
Yes. And I've been waiting all day to know when it would happen. Because they usually
And now it's here.
And now it's here. Usually they call me and I meet them somewhere that's not my road. When you see my road, you'll understand why a semi truck would not want to go down my road.
Ooh. And the semi truck came down your road.
They came down my road.
Wow.
They are not getting up my driveway.
Yeah.
They might just be throwing a pallet on the ground. I don't know.
Adventure.
Yeah. Super exciting. But we now have Brazil beans for the rest of the year, I think.
Woohoo.
It depends on how much coffee people order. But I I decided to get ahead of the curve with the shortages coming and make sure I had some green beans on hand. Yeah.
This is good stuff.
Because legitimately here's what's happening with the coffee, in case people are wondering, because I'm on the wholesale side of this.
Yeah.
It's not running out, but it is refilling slower than in former years, and that's been going on for 2 years. And it's because of the international shipping problem. So we have to get the containers from South America, Africa, Central America, Asia to here in containers. And if they get stuck in the port, they're not coming in. And so what's happened to the coffee stock in the warehouses all over the country is it's gone down.
Right.
You pair that with Brazil had some crop damage last fall. That means that there's less of that stock of coffee. So then some of the big producers like Starbucks bought a boat ton of things while they could, which further depleted because they were like, we need to have this bean. So for a craft roaster like me, that's not that big a deal at the moment. Prices are up because of shipping, about 30% on my side. I've already changed my prices to accommodate that. I'll change them again if it goes up again. It just is what it is. My shipping cost from container to here has gone up $1, which is shocking to me. And I know that's going to change.
Right.
But because I'm not competing with the Starbucks of the world or the Folgers of the world for the coffee. I'm buying more of a craft sort of smaller farm thing. It's what I'm finding is I have less variety to choose from. And so I may not be able to get Rwanda beans back in, but I have a really good Honduras bean. That's it. And prices are going to go up as prices of everything go up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think most of the issue is shipping? Like, do you think that's like a huge, in this whole food shortage thing, do you think that's like,
that's a really big part. There are crop failures. It's crop failures and shipping.
Yeah.
Shipping, I'm seeing a bigger impact from in my world, but I don't track the grain crops super closely because I'm not as dependent on them. And, we're moving to grass-fed animals and away from, that's why we may not do pigs anymore because we've been augmenting with grain. And I'm like, if grain gets really expensive, then pork is even more expensive. So unless we're finding an alternative way to feed them or growing it here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we lost one of our large, like locally produced grain producers here in Tennessee from the organic side of the house about 2 months ago. That means that this year's crop didn't go in. Like I assume they had the winter wheat in, but it's just like boop, done.
Wow.
Yeah.
It'll get interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you tired, Nicole?
Do I look tired?
I think you look beautiful.
Look at the bags.
Why are you so tired, Nicole? You're on a homestead. It's supposed to be relaxing and wonderful.
It's spring on the homestead. Of course I'm fucking tired. Yes, I'm tired. I'm exhausted at the end of every day because there's so much to do to keep the homestead going. And then all y'all want to come here for my event.
Damn you, people.
I spent 4 hours making meatloaf this morning. No.
I can't
I'm
wait for
tired.
that meatloaf.
People are like, Nicole, you look tired. Are you okay? I'm like, every other April in history, I looked this tired. Just putting that out there.
It's a busy time.
The first time I ever went like to a thing, I think it was in April. The first time I went to the cooperative grocer nearby in April, my first year homesteading, I walked in and the lady running it took one look at me. She went, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I'm tired. She's like, yeah, you are. We're all tired. Every homesteader is exhausted right now.
Those are your people.
Yeah. She's like, it'll be this way every year.
Yeah.
She's like, the most tired I've ever been is the year we grew sorghum. That is more work than I ever want to do again.
That's crazy.
I've never grown sorghum as a result of this conversation.
Well, you were a good listener then.
Yeah.
That's good.
Are you tired, Amy?
I'm tired of not the homesteader super busy way right
Yeah,
now because, we're probably a month away from that. Right now we're just you go outside and you try to figure out what you can do to get ahead because once that time comes, you're going to hit the ground running, you'll be behind before you even know it, right? So you're trying to do as much as you can, but there's so much you can't do because weather in Minnesota, right?
yeah,
And so it's just been trying to figure out what we can get ahead on. And then I'm going to this really fabulous workshop next week. I'm leaving for it on Tuesday. I'll be gone
fun.
for a week. And then by the time we
What could
get
possibly
back,
go wrong if you're gone for a week in the spring on your homestead?
what could possibly go wrong? That's why I'm not too frustrated with the weather because I feel like if it was warmer already, I would be more like, "Oh my gosh, I'm leaving for a week and this is when everything should be getting done." But because it's staying a little cooler, I'm like, "All right, we've got some time." Like we should be putting the potatoes in the ground next week. We had already decided we're gonna wait till the first week of May when I get back, and now I don't even know if we could put potatoes in the ground, like, because it's just I don't know. None of the farmers are doing anything around me in the field, so I
Yeah.
think we're good, but next month, you can ask me. In next month's Spicy Sisters, you
Spicy
can say,
sister.
"Amy, are you tired?"
Are you tired?
I'll be like,
Yeah. So
"Good."
having the homestead stuff happen at the same time as my workshop, I'm totally
Yeah.
used to. And I usually go for a backpack right after the workshop, but it's not
Mm,
happening this year because I'm speaking at
mm,
Exit and Build. So I'm like straight into that right
right.
after.
Yeah.
Uh, but right after Exit and Build, I'm turning off for 3 days
Yeah.
completely. I'm going, like, I won't be here. I will be
Mhm.
somewhere unannounced,
Undisclosed.
and I'm
Yes.
literally turning off the phone.
Nice.
And I announced this to everybody around me, and there was like happy dances from the rednecks. They're like, "Oh, good, she won't be all up our butt about stuff for 3 days, and maybe she won't be as
Everybody's
bitchy when she gets back."
everybody gets a break for those 3 days.
But this is happening at the same time that people are waking up
Yeah.
to the
Yes.
instability of what they thought was a stable system that was never stable.
Yeah.
And that's making me extra tired because I don't like to hear the re that's happening when I know that it's unnecessary. It's an
Yeah.
unnecessary especially if you take some steps now.
Yeah.
You don't need to take 20 steps now. You just need to start taking some steps now and you can build the life you want.
Yeah.
But the fear is what drives change for people. And so like it's like
Yeah.
that fear is hitting at the same time that spring is hitting and I'm like, "Ah, yeah.
Why now?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's busy. And sometimes that, like, mental busyness is just as exhausting as the physical busyness of the homestead.
Yeah.
Sometimes even more so
Yeah.
because it's
Well,
just
I think it's when that stuff like when for me, I'm an energetic person, and when the negative stuff is always
yeah,
coming at me, it hurt. I just go to bed early. I'm like,
yeah.
I can't handle it anymore. I'm going to bed
Peace
now.
out. Yeah, yeah. And
So
it's hard because, you get it so I would say that's my busy right now is answering the questions and the emails and, directing them to, "Well, look at this," and
yeah,
it like, you want to help. Like, we're helpers and we're educators and we want
yeah,
to explain this to people, but yeah, when that negativity gets in there and that fear that is just, the emails of, "I don't know what to do and I'm just not prepared enough," and the list of all the things some of it is the list of all the things they're doing, and they're doing great, but they just need to do more because that fear is out there and they're
yeah. And
hearing,
you're like,
"You gotta do,"
no,
and I'm
you
like,
need to just do
"No,
that.
you're good, like, you're cool,"
Just
like
keep staying the course.
yeah,
Yeah,
so but yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah. What else? What else?
That's my list of stuff.
That's
I
your
don't see
list?
I don't see anything in the comments other than people are
Mm,
let's see, people are having trouble finding land. People want land. That's a thing. The real estate market
yeah.
is retarded right now.
Yeah,
And so I feel your
yeah,
pain on that one. I feel like this is something I realized because I watch people try to come to Tennessee. I'm sure
yeah,
you watch people try to come to
yeah,
Minnesota
yeah,
and
yeah.
find that spot.
Yes.
And there's this pressure to get it done fast, and they're trying to do it from out of state. And I've come to the conclusion if you're going to find something right now that's not highway robbery or just in really bad shape,
Mhm.
you need to go to the place where you're looking and be there.
Yeah.
And that may look like living in a campground in an RV for a month.
Yeah.
It may look like Airbnb steading, where you just rent an Airbnb for a month or something, and you may go down there and find nothing. But unless you're there, I don't think you're finding it, because the best deals to find right now are the drive around for sale by owner deals, which still exist.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up, because we were talking about this on another live stream about how I will get emails, and I know you get these too, because I've seen them in discussions in some of the chats, is
Yeah.
I want to move to Tennessee. Where should I move where it's going to be perfect? And there's this great homesteading community, and just hook me up with
Like-minded
the
people, whatever that means.
like my yeah. And so I will get those, I'm moving to southwestern Minnesota. I don't live in southwestern Minnesota. I'm in central Minnesota. I have no idea. I don't know who lives down there. Like, I don't know that community. And it always floors me that people think there's going to just be this great place that they can drop themselves into, and they're just going to like bloop fit in and then move on with life, and everything's going to be great. And sometimes, I mean, if you can find that wonderful spot, that's great. But sometimes, okay, where you are or where you can find, like, build it from there, make it work from there. I worry about the people that think there is this great place that I'm going to go and everything's going to be awesome, because if everybody moves there, then it's not that place anymore.
Yeah. Well, that, and if you haven't figured out how to be happy where you are, is the reason that it's not a homestead in Tennessee with like-minded people around you, or is there something else going on?
Right.
Because there's, that's not a fun discussion to have. It's not a fun analysis to do. But at the end of the day, if you can figure out how to be happy where you are,
right,
you're going to find the place where you will be happy. And, I lived in North Portland, in the city, in the hood, and loved it in my 20s.
Yeah.
And 30s. And if I could have any house right now to this day, it would be that house, only it would be right here with a wood stove in it.
Yeah.
I never got that. I was going to add the wood stove back, because it was an old, like 1900 era house, 2 stories with a basement. I wish I had a basement. I live in a basement. You'll see. That's all it is. Just a basement.
Just a basement?
I just live in a basement. It's a daylight basement, basically. But that, I loved my neighbors. I loved being able to walk to the brewery, to the bars, to restaurants. Like, it was just great. And it was a neighborhood in transition, and that was interesting to watch happen. And I had a little garden, and that's not where I'm happy now, but I was happy there. And part of why I found my happy there was that I figured out that the decisions I make are mine to make, and I own them, and I either have to be happy or not happy, and that's in my control. Whether I'm in that city lot, this homestead, a condo, a ratty apartment building, it doesn't matter. I can make it my happy.
Right.
Yeah. And that was a hard realization, but I'm glad I realized that pretty young.
Yeah. Because a lot of people, it takes them a long time, or they never realize that. They're always searching for that place where it's going to be, this is the place, and it's not the place, because there's other stuff going on there.
Yeah.
And it takes time. I mean, like, we moved to our farm 11 years ago, and we were moving into the middle of farm country where it was all established, and the people that had lived here forever. And you cannot just drop yourself in and be like, hey, I'm here. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. It takes time. You have to, like, show that you're legit. It takes time. And I think sometimes in the fear porn that's out there, we have to get to the homestead, we have to get to the perfect place so we can start doing all the things. I think people freak out because they feel like they have no time. And so they just want to find the place and get there and drop themselves in, and okay, here we are. And that's never how it's worked. So yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I want a property that's very remote, but convenient to get to and away from, that has a spring on the property, that is not polluted by anything nearby, that is off grid, but also has access to electricity.
Yes. And has perfect internet, has really good internet.
Perfect internet.
Yes. Yep.
And that's I mean, I get it. I get why you'd want all those things. I would want all those things too.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's flat. As Dawn said, she had to deal with rolling hills instead of flat. So it's easier to make, because a lot of people, I actually like the topography of my place. which is super steep. But I didn't come here thinking how many row crops can I put in either. It would not be good for that. Like, we're building to the topography here.
Sure.
But a lot of people just cannot envision how you would put fencing in or do anything if it's not flat, because what they're used to is those flat squares in the middle of our country.
Where I live.
Where
so
you
that's
live.
so funny you bring it up, because that's never anything I would even think of, because it is so flat where I live. It's not even anything I would have even thought on the list, because everything's just here.
Yeah, so here's this one. We're actively looking for a place in Middle Tennessee. Half the places we look at have unusable land. Do they?
What is unusable land?
Because there's I think a 3-acre piece of land for sale on my road that is literally 3 acres of cliff. Ooh. I would call that pretty unless you're building a cliff dwelling house, that's unusable. But people would look at my land and call it unusable too. And yet, it's very usable. Right. It is hilly and rocky. And I've had to build that into my design. But I'm looking at, some other acreage near here that I may be able to buy that is super steep. It grows the crap out of some turkeys and deer, though. And if I decide, if we get it, we'll be able to pasture it even though it's hilly. What got me over that was, living here. But if you want to see somebody with some steep, hilly land doing well, go to Polyface Farm and look at where he moves his pigs through the forest. It is not all flat. It's a hill.
There are options.
Yeah. So it just depends on why it's unusable. I don't know what that means. Yeah.
Everybody's talking about land now.
Yeah. That's all they're interested in.
It's an important thing. We were very lucky that, when
Nate knows the land. He saw that one for sale right by me. I'm like, yeah, don't buy that. Especially not for $20,000. Like, buy that for $100 and, go hang a hammock with some trees there.
It'll be right for somebody.
Yeah.
Somebody will want it. Yeah.
Somebody wanted it to begin with.
Right. It's all what you're going to do.
They camped on it. That's what they did.
It could work.
Yeah. Yeah, it could get the Jeep up it. So I guess, it just depends on what you're willing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a friend of mine almost bought 70 acres, I think it was, north of me. They decided not to because it's hilly and forested. And when I had some friends go out there and check it out with them, when I heard about it, it's totally usable from a permaculture standpoint. But it's going to take work, and it's going to take a plan, and there are hills, and so they often not be, they're like, we're not willing to put that work in on that. Right. I'm like, legitimate. Yeah.
It would be interesting if like land is really hard to come by, right? And you had a piece of property that would be given to you. Like, you wouldn't have to pay for it. What would you be willing to do to that property? Would you look at it differently? Like, I'm not, this is a gift. I'm just getting it. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. So, I don't know. Oh, Ashley's got a question.
I know, this is a really good one to end this episode on, actually.
Ashley, you're so good.
Yeah, it's like she wants to softball me there. So Ashley's asking, what is it that you're both looking forward to most about Lftm next week? Amy, you get to go first.
I get to go first. There's a couple things. I think it's going to be really, really cool to actually meet people that I have been working with, podcasting, live streaming, videos, writing, talking to behind the scenes. Like, for some of these people for 4 or 5 years, and I've never met them in person, and I get to meet them in person. And so that's so crazy to me. The other thing is, I think it's just going to be very centering, I will say. I think it's going to be I'm kind of going through like a crisis right here about knowing what I want to do next. Where do I want to go? I've got the farm. My kids are grown up. What are we doing next? What are we doing with this farm? What are we doing with Farmish Kind of Life? How how are we taking all of that? And so I feel like just hanging out with some really awesome people and having conversations about that and just seeing what other people are doing and just being with good people, I think it's just going to be very eye-opening and centering, and some other word that I cannot think of right now, but it's going to be great. I'm so excited.
So I'm looking forward to two things.
Okay.
One is late night karaoke. So I don't mean specifically the karaoke, but we're going to let our hair down.
Yeah.
And we don't always get a comfortable, safe environment where we can just let our hair down, don't have to drive anywhere,
Sure.
have a little bit of something in our cup if we want to, or not, doesn't matter. So I'm looking forward to that. But first and foremost, I get inspired by the fellowship and the relationships that happen here personally, and then watching other people come here, go through the workshop, leave, and then they send me an email next year and they say, Nicole, I'm not going to come back this year because I started a business with Fred over there and it's going so well we can't leave, but we'll be back the year after.
Yeah.
I love that. So the fellowship that happens at this event is, it's, people have been to Self-Reliance Festival and the networking you get there is fabulous. This is more intimate. It's, 60 to 70 people. We're together for 4 days. We are camping unless they're staying at an Airbnb nearby, which some people are. We are eating together. We're hanging out together. And yeah, we have some sessions and we're going to do a little install here of the beginning of an aquaponics system. We learn stuff. I learned more from the attendees than they learned from anything we put on, though. And that's what's amazing about it to me.
I love it. I'm so excited to get there. I can't wait.
All right. Woohoo. Do you want to promo your stuff as we sign off, or?
Promo my stuff. I mean, so I'm at farmishkindoflife.com. I have a podcast that I'm doing 1, 2, 3, 4 times a week, depending on what the week is and how many live streams I do. I have a snail mail newsletter that I send out once a month. So that's kind of fun. And I don't know, did I forget anything? I don't know. Probably, but I'll talk about it at LFTN.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you're new to my show, I have a show. It's Living Free in Tennessee, which is not specific to Tennessee. It just rhymed. That's why I named it. It was a terrible decision from a marketing standpoint because people think you have to be in Tennessee to listen.
It's okay.
It's building the life you choose on your terms. It's lifestyle design, homesteading, small business startup, hopefully inspirational to some people. And I roast the heck out of some awesome coffee. If you want to try it, it's available via mail order, hollerroast.com. And we will see everybody who has signed up for the spring workshop next week here. If you did not sign up, it is sold out. Sorry. Not sorry. If it's, is what it is. If it's sold out and you're like, dang it, I want to meet these people, come to Self-Reliance Festival June 11th and 12th. That's at selfreliancefestival.com. Bye-bye, everybody.
Goodbye.